Hello, everybody. Welcome to the conclusion of SummerSlam, the two-night saga. Put on those masks, get some flak jackets out. We got some fisting to do tonight. How are you, Way?
I'm doing all right, John. Not so bad. How about yourself?
Are you familiar with the Shield?
Yeah, I think so. I think I heard of him. Something about a chair. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're gonna talk about it. The final chapter of the story.
Yeah. They never really build it as that prior to this. I mean, we just kind of find out, afterwards. But that's,
throwing a last minute, and this is the end of the story. I'm sure we will never see these two people ever cross paths ever again. This was it.
We'll see.
Quite a moment. Mm-hmm. Well, folks, welcome all to our live post show here after 2 nights of SummerSlam. Our first night's review is already up for everyone to check out, and we will be teeing up what is going to be coming up this week and this month on the Post Wrestling Cafe. But we're going to dive into SummerSlam from US Bank Stadium. So this was interesting because WrestleTix, that they're always providing kind of like real-time tracking. This show had been up to like 36,000 tickets out, and then sometimes like there's readjustments or what have you. Sometimes numbers will go down, and in fact, this one finished at 33,086, which would be almost 3,000 behind night number one in terms of tickets distributed. So it was kind of interesting there that, you did had a slight differential between nights 1 and 2, and this being the lower of the two. And before we go into it, the only update we have from last night's show is that Brie Bella, she was pulled from one of her WWE signings today. Nikki, I guess, did an interview on Busted Open Radio, just stating Brie is going to talk about this on her own, but she is in pain. I think their podcast usually comes out on Mondays, but I don't know if this would have been even taped. If they'll do something on their podcast tomorrow, or if an update will come after the fact. I think most people are expecting it's going to be probably a tough injury. I mean, it certainly made me think of what we had just watched on WWE Unreal with the arm being snapped back in, and thinking, oh, was that it? It's like, no, that was not it. But we'll see. We don't know the extent of the injury, but that was certainly one of the notable news items coming out of Saturday.
Looked bad in the moment, so sucks for them, certainly.
Yeah. I did see this Sami Zayn promo on the pre-show, and it's really the only thing I'm going to on the pre-show. They came up with this idea that he had like a earpiece on, and he was like on his way walking into the building, so his feed was terrible. It sounded like an awful like Zoom interview that the feed was going in and out, but you generally got the gist of what he was saying. But he responded to CM Punk's promo about him on Friday, where he said he was talking like a starter when he's really a bench player, which Punk did kind of screw up the wording of and had to correct himself. And so Zayn called him on this, saying, it's kind of interesting that you seem to flub your words whenever you're talking about me because I make you nervous. You're terrified of me. And he said, I don't want to ever be compared to you. It's an insult to be compared to CM Punk. I am a real person who means what he says. I stand for something. Punk stands for nothing. And I need this win tonight over Finn Balor. And all I will say is this guy did a hell of a job on this pre-show of selling you on wanting to see a rematch with him and Punk, which you are not getting in the immediate future. But it was quite a good promo from Sami Zayn.
It's certainly still a lingering thread that's out there, and they can pretty much go back to it at any point, and I feel like it could be anticipated. I would hope it would have a proper stage for it.
There should be some follow-up at some point. So we went from Paul Levesque and Stephanie McMahon's daughter to Darius Rucker. What a transition from Next Generation McMahon to Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah,
on night 2, who did the national anthem for us, and then we are kicking off with Finn Balor versus Sami Zayn, or would we? They come out, and then out comes Nick Aldis, supporting his black eye, which probably woke up and this morning with no glory in this eye. And he comes out, and as per his agreement with Paul Levesque about calling things down the middle. He is going to do what is fair and adds Gunther to the match. And Zayn is furious about this. They have like these shots of Zayn reacting to this, and he's all upset. But then Aldis says, I didn't say that's the only person that I am adding. And with that, brings back Kevin Owens for his first match in a year and a half after neck surgery. And what would you say, the biggest pop on the show, I think, is safe to say?
I think so. Sure. You could say that. I mean, the main event was certainly plenty loud, but yeah.
It was loud, but in terms of a sustained pop, like this was pretty big, and naturally being the surprise, you could expect it. And he came out and, he seemed very emotional coming out here. They showed several women in tears as the man was coming out that they were able to capture. They found one. I was like, wow, this woman was brought to tears. Then they found another woman in tears as well. So, Cole's explaining he had fusion of his C5, C6 vertebrae. And I guess we should talk about this now because he talked a little bit about it on the post show. He came out and Joe Tessitore gave this really heartwarming speech to introduce Kevin Owens about all the adversity he overcame. And Owens was thankful for it, but basically said, I don't want to talk about anything that I've gone through. He did thank Big E and his family. He also thanked his surgeons, the trainers at the PC, and he went out of his way to also thank Tanea Brooks, Rebel, who he says, I know has never worked here, but watching her struggle with ALS and how she's handled that inspired me as well. It was a really nice speech that he gave. Very, this was not Kevin Owens playing the Kevin Owens character. This was very much just himself out here. And when they did, we'll get to the Punk stuff after because that's more storyline driven. But the main takeaway from this is that he realistically thought that this might have been the end of his career. When he was asked about that news, were you okay with this? And this is Big E that's asking about this, so it has that added layer to it. Owens said that, there was a point where that was what it felt like he was looking at, and he said, I did not take that news well, and I was fighting it, and it sounded like the neck was not healing, and he finally got a scan about a month or so ago, and that was the positive news that I guess they saw what they needed to see in terms of progress, and it looked like, they certainly felt like this was touch and go if he would be cleared to ever wrestle again. So it seems like this all did come together in the last month or so.
And it would maybe make sense why those particular fans were crying. Perhaps maybe they knew about some of the, hardships that Owens had to go through.
Well, or they were Sami Zayn fans and they realized, oh man, they're not going to
be that too.
Maybe they can't beat Owens in this situation. So I think everyone knew what the outcome of this one was going to be. But hey man, credit to Owens here because he came out and dude hit he's hitting cannonballs instantly. And I mean, God bless the guy that he's coming back and he's just going all out here. But I was like, this guy's out of his mind, just testing everything immediately. This was like watching Bryan Danielson with taking Luke Harper and saying, yeah, give me a half and half right on the neck immediately. He was coming out and he was like, we're going to test this neck out. And he even said on the post show, he said, listen, my surgeons, everyone around me has told me to take it careful. I am not taking it careful. Even if it means I'm done in 2 years, then I'm done in 2 years. But it sounds like his mentality is I am not compromising anything, even if it means a premature end to my career with this neck. And I mean, this match, this was only 8 minutes or so, but I mean, he fit a lot in here in the 8 minutes.
I don't know if he would be the type to have his career last so long that he wouldn't be able to keep up this style of wrestling that he's been doing for 20 something years. He has never, despite great success, adjusted or changed the ferocity and intensity of his style at all. And I can't imagine he, number one, he probably has too much pride in his work to do it. Number two, I think he would hate it. He would hate feeling, that level of handicap. So this is, it's a horse being set free, and this horse ran.
Wow, bringing the poetry tonight is Wei Ting. So Zayn's reactions here were amazing because they've got the split screen of him, his jaw is on the floor as Owens is coming out. And remember, the last Owens' match was with Zayn here at Rogers Center for the Elimination Chamber show. So that was the last that we had seen. Well, the last match he had. He was then doing the whole Randy Orton lead up to WrestleMania, and that's when he had to pull out of Mania. So the match begins again. Owens comes out. He's hitting cannonballs, very loud reaction. And then it's him face to face with Sami Zayn, and the two embrace before they go right back into striking one another. And Owens then climbs to the top for a swanton to all three on the floor, just declaring that he has been cleared and he is back. Also seems like even more than prior that it feels like the stunner is going to be his main finisher. It felt like even more so, like it seemed like he was utilizing that the most here. We saw Fisherman Buster off the buckle onto Balor, and there's multiple saves in here. Owens goes for another swanton and lands on the knees of Zayn, and then he grabs his neck, and referee Ryan Tran pulls Sami away, and the haluva is set up. Zayn is going to go to take out Owens, but Gunther cuts him off with a sleeper. That's broken up with the coup de grace, and Gunther was late here making the save. Like, he barely got a finger on Balor, who had to like use this as like the save on the cover. Owens makes his return after injuring his neck, stuns Balor, stuns Gunther, and then there's a blue thunder bomb by Zayn. Owens kicks out, and the haluva is stopped with a super kick, and he stuns Zayn for the win in 8 minutes and 30 seconds. So they crammed a lot into 8.5 minutes in this match. But the headline is Kevin Owens is back, and he is also now the number one contender for CM Punk, which he didn't even go into when they asked him on the post show. He said, I will address that at a later day, but they're already teasing. Like, Paul Levesque did this interview on the post show that, Punk and Owens, they have a lot of history, some of what you know, and a lot behind the scenes that only me and Cody know. It's a very secretive, and might have to tell that story. But quite frankly, I think this is a much more refreshing direction for Punk than Gunther. I think they'll do Gunther, but I think Punk and Owens, that feels like a really fresh program. The promo segments will be dynamite, and I think that's a great program to go to for both of these guys.
And for Owens to just come back right into the title picture right away with a high-profile feud against CM Punk, there's certainly no going easy for a stage like that. So I think it makes sense, like, especially him knowing that he was winning tonight, why he certainly didn't take it easy. He didn't just have to like take a baby step back into the pool. He had to like go right into the deep end and show that he's capable of the spot. So certainly he showed it tonight. So I hope, he's feeling healthy enough, for what will probably be a pretty substantial program with CM Punk that I think everybody is very much salivating over, both in the ring and also on the microphone. As far as the match tonight goes, I found it to be like a fun sprint. To me, I do think like a lot of the undercard matches tonight did not feel substantial enough for a pay-per-view. Even one at what, it was a 3-hour length show again, 2 hours 50 minutes in fact, but like 6 matches spread out that time. You would expect these matches to get a bit more length and to tell their stories. This one was 8 minutes, and you could do a lot in 8 minutes, but it felt by the end of it like they'd never really hit that higher gear. Again, still a fun sprint. You had some great combinations here throughout between Finn and Gunther, Owens and Gunther, which like that looked awesome. So really, like on SmackDown, they have a wonderful mix of like top end guys right now that I'm looking forward to see throughout the rest of the year. But this didn't really feel maybe as satisfying as you would think, when you look at this match on paper.
It's like, I think in these kind of situations, it's like the event was Owens' return. It was like the match was it was very secondary, and yes, the finish was important because of the outcome, but it was more so just the Owens return, which is, that's going to leave a lot of people satisfied. If this had been a built-up match and it was 8.5 minutes, I think people would have been much more annoyed that they got so little time, because certainly you look at the talent here, this would have a very high expectation level, but I think they were banking on the surprise as what they're delivering for you.
Yeah.
Trick Williams and Baron Corbin, Wei Ting's main event of the show. And forgive me if he's come out to this already, but this is the first I can recall hearing this Baron Corbin theme as he comes out. I caused the pain. I caused the pain. Oh man.
Yeah.
I think I have a new ringtone for my phone.
Well, yeah. Okay.
I'm also looking for the Baron Corbin tank top that reads "End of Days" over the belly. Some prime merchandise that could be sold for yours truly.
I'm sure you could buy something
yeah.
like this. Yeah.
This was also presented by Nimrods, a Green Day comedy. Call me a sucker, but this one did hook me in to have to Google, what is this? And it's a film by Lee Kirk that debuted at TIFF last year. And I guess it's loosely based on Green Day, but it's about a band that is traveling to another city under the guise that they're going to open for Green Day. But the three I think are to represent like the band in its earlier days, and the Green Day is involved in this film or whatever. I was like, it was at least interesting here, and they roped me in to learn about this film that was the sponsor for Baron Corbin and Trick Williams.
These advertising, attempts work. Clearly, they got a free ad on our show.
They totally did. Lil Yachty is back. Fear not. He is introduced by Alicia Taylor as the self-proclaimed best man to ever breathe, which covers a lot of ground. He introduces Trick, and the match begins. Trick is stomping him with "whoop that Trick" chants, and then he brings out a table. Corbin runs Trick into the post and takes over. Michael Cole reminds us of Baron Corbin retiring, the great Kurt Angle. And what a memorable retirement that was. And crossing a new boundary for Michael Cole, identifying the ground and pound attack by Baron Corbin. And Wade describes Baron Corbin as old school meat and potatoes. Like, that's a perfect description of this man's style. Okay, if he was at UFC 1, that would be his style. That he would be introduced. Yachty starts getting in Corbin's face and gets pie-faced. So Yachty grabs the Trick stick and sends him into the ring. Trick hits a bookend. The deep six is avoided, as is the End of Days. And then he hits a Trick kick for a 2. And then he is setting up for the Trick shot. But Baron rolls out of the ring. Corbin grabs the fluffy United States belt. Yachty stops him. So Trick knocks Corbin by mistake into Yachty. And Yachty falls off the apron through the table. And to my impression, he died off of the spot. I don't think we saw him again. He was eliminated, compromised to a permanent end. And with the referee is distracted, tending to Lil Yachty, who has gone through the table. This is his prime concern, is the status of Lil Yachty. And with his back turned, Corbin hits the belt shot and the End of Days, ending the days of Trick Williams as United States champion in 9 minutes and 5 seconds. And this visual of Baron Corbin raising his custom fluffy belt here that he proclaimed afterwards he is going to strip every feather out of, surrounded by pyro. It was Bishop Dire Straits for Trick Williams fans with this particular visual as Baron Corbin wins the United States Championship way.
It's in
what was not a very special match, I will say.
The headline is laughable, isn't it? Thinking about just that result, like repeat just what you said, and imagine taking yourself like 2 months ago.
This could have been Carmelo Hayes.
There could have been a wide number of people. Could have been I would have Tama Tonga, I think would have been a much better choice. I'm not one to necessarily maybe criticize booking decisions above certain other qualities of a match, because I often believe they have their plans. In this case though, I think they have lost their mind. Put this thing on somebody that even if Corbin is only meant to be some sort of transitional champion as a best case scenario in all of this, I think tonight though, having this picture of Baron Corbin on SummerSlam, one of your biggest shows of the season, this is very prime real estate that I don't think you just give to a guy who's kind of coming in as a second career that people aren't taking all that seriously. Big cast. I feel like maybe, they seem to have at least a little bit more invested in him. That, I understand they're looking for a heel, I suppose, in this spot. I I don't really care what plans they have for Corbin. I just think the perception tonight, when a wider audience is watching this show than usual, is that Trick Williams is a moron who can't beat this like broke ass Corbin, the guy with a like stain on his like shirt at last time we years ago we saw him, the guy who eats dog food, despite having a 2-on-1 advantage throughout the match. The booking of the match was all over the place too. I mean, yes, I like you're sensing from the finish that maybe they're building up to a Trick and Yachty breakup, right? And maybe that's to justify some of the blatant cheating that you got here. But again, I thought that was really overthinking it. They were very careful to present Trick Williams in a very strong light at WrestleMania this year, and I felt like they went the complete opposite route in instead having them, first of all, look like a heel throughout the match. Secondly, look like an idiot heel who lost because he didn't know how to cheat properly. And I thought that was not like something you should really present on a SummerSlam stage when this might be one of 3 shows people are watching throughout the course of the year.
I thought it was a pretty poor match. It was, Corbin to me is just, I don't know what it is that stands out that he checks a box in such a way that commanded this return. Like, I'm certain that they, maybe they look at him as someone that, he's come up through our system. He can work with some of these younger guys. I don't know. But to me, this is a company that is like, this main roster is just overflowing with bodies that a Baron Corbin, I find a hard time carving out a role for, and a pushed one at that. I don't think this does any favors of Trick continuing this program. This also wasn't built that I feel like Trick is just ascending to that next level. And the fact is that when Trick is put in these positions on these pay-per-views, it's like he is not having matches at the level of even like the WWE like standard, and that's not the highest bar to clear, but it's one that, like, that is the knock against Trick Williams. It's certainly not the charisma, and I think that is a bit of a crutch that this guy, you hand him a mic and he can absorb any bad booking, any loss. He's going to be over with the crowd, and to an extent that might be the case, but there is a hurdle for this guy to have to get over, because I think that is kind of the hesitancy of him rising to that next level that everyone sees him, being capable of.
Yeah. I agree. But I also think it's like, it's way too soon to take the belt off of him for that reason. Like there's still plenty left in this ride on this wave.
Oh, I would not have been advocating for this.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, I'm sure they have their reasons for taking the belt off of Trick right now. It could be because they want to advance him to like, a world title stage. Sure. Maybe I even think that like it's way too soon for that. Certainly. Like I can understand maybe in the immediate future, like just doing this to justify the Yachty breakup. But I just like being Corbin on the other end just completely makes zero sense to me when I think there are so many other guys that are better suited for the spot. That you'd benefit a whole lot more from, especially tonight. This was not the type of Trick Williams match that I think the audience wanted. Like they wanted something certainly a bit more fun, something that presented him in a much more babyface light than what you got here, which was a failed 2-on-1 like the type of match for him. So yeah.
Let's also remember that, barring a show change, he's on SmackDown where we have Punk, Owens, Cody, Randy Orton is back, Balor, Zayn. Like, I've just rattled off 6 names. Like, Trick isn't cracking like that level. Like, okay, Balor, okay, he can be on that level. But it's like SmackDown is extremely top heavy with main eventers at this point. And
he's more charismatic than a good chunk, like maybe even all of them. And that might be enough to justify it. But in ring is where he will truly be tested against all those guys. Yeah.
The next match is the ladder match for the Interim Women's Championship with Tiffany Stratton, Chelsea Green, Jade Cargill, Charlotte Flair, and Lash Legend. So Stratton comes out. She is from Prior Lake, Minnesota, and she's in the colors of the Minnesota Vikings. Jade comes out in Prince-inspired gear, and Charlotte Flair
as well.
That's right. And Charlotte Flair's gear was for the young fan Scarlett, who she was very she had posted quite a bit about and had helped her with her outfits and died last month. And they mentioned that her family was in attendance as well, as was Chelsea Green's family, who they mention are here. But she had 8 friends who were going to fly here, but couldn't make it because an airline in Canada, no shout out to WestJet on SummerSlam, is on strike and canceled their flight.
Oh no.
So her 8 friends could not make it. I thought it's one thing to say, okay, the family is here, but your 8 best friends were going to fly here too. I mean, this kind of felt like a tip off for why would your 8 friends be flying here? But maybe they're just supportive and they just want to see her take a big bump. So the match begins with Jade attacking Charlotte on the floor. Stratton and Green start jumping up and down together, but then they eye the belt, but continue to work with one another. Flair and Stratton have a face-off, and Wade mentions he was the one to host their famous promo segment last year leading up to WrestleMania. When Chelsea was alone, and this was not surprising, the crowd went wild. She was the underdog favorite, and she starts climbing the first time, and Jade stops her with a Jaded onto the ladder. Stratton then attempts a Rana off of the ladder onto Lash, who drops her. A Rana off the corner with a ladder bridge that she gets basically powerbombed on top of. Flair is climbing up, and they do the Devon spot where she hangs from above as the ladder is pulled out by Jade. Jade and Lash then yank her off of the ring to bring her down. And then it is Stratton climbing the ladder, and we get a reversal of the Money in the Bank spot from 2 years ago when Stratton tipped the ladder to take out Chelsea and win the Money in the Bank. This time, it's Green that tips the ladder on Tiffany, and Tiffany goes over the top rope and flips over onto 3 of the women. We have Jade, Charlotte, and Lash.
Basically, the rest of the match.
Yeah, exactly. The rest of the match, because there were only 5 of them. So Charlotte maintains in the middle to catch her. The other 2 are just you got it? Who's got it? And they just I'm obviously not a wrestler, but if I was doing any of these spots where it's the group catch, I'd be like, you know what? One of you catch me, because it seems so often when it's the group catch, it's like you're all in the outfield and no one's calling the ball, and it's just someone just is gonna fall. Now Charlotte got a piece of her, but this was the other 2 were just well, what are we gonna do here? It was not the most graceful fall here for Stratton at the bottom. So from there,
when Charlotte was hanging off the belt.
Yes.
And she had to be dropped. It was Jade and Lash dragging her down, and I think they were supposed to catch her, the 2 of them together, and they didn't get all of it there either. Unfortunately.
Yeah. I thought this was one, I've generally enjoyed Lash Legend, but in a match here with 5 people with all these weapons, I think it was very glaring that Lash certainly felt like she was in the deep end here without a life jacket at different points. The crowd is going wild again for Chelsea as she climbs after Tiffany has been sent to the floor when Meechin and B-Fab stop her, and they hang her upside down on the ladder for a very long period of time. They help Jade. Flair fights them off. She's climbing, and then Jade and Charlotte fall off the ladder, and Green just does the big sit-up, and the crowd realizes she's got a clear shot at the belt. They go nuts here as Chelsea climbs up, grabs the interim belt, 13 minutes and 5 seconds, which was the second longest match on this show. And Chelsea is the interim champion, and I guess I could really see this being very much mirroring the Matt Cardona ladder match win at WrestleMania, where it's the big underdog win, and she is going to lose this belt, because I do not see Rhea Ripley and Chelsea Green being a match. And I could really see Chelsea being the underdog, and she's going to gain all this sympathy because they're going to yank this belt out from under her at the quickest possible time.
Yeah, it's not even the scenario where it really makes sense to do Rhea versus Chelsea, because you risk the audience feeling blaming Rhea for the loss. I mean, this is all going to lead to Tiffany Stratton somehow costing her this, and At what point will that occur? How that will occur? I mean, that remains to be seen. But you know, for a moment where you can like use this sort of interim thing to like give this person this moment, it feels, number one, the crowd certainly loved it. You know, they were cheering Chelsea over Tiffany Stratton, who is from Minnesota. So that already tells you something about maybe how people see Tiffany Stratton in this relationship. But I think also I'm sensing this moment is made as much for Unreal as it is for anything else.
That's a great call.
SummerSlam is like one of their peaks, right? You know, that they tend to end their seasons for. And Chelsea has sort of been the main character, or one of the characters that has been in every season. She's, you know, said, I'm always chosen for a spot, but I'm never chosen for the spot. You know, I'm always the person who's overlooked. So this just feels like a perfect sort of like closing image to wrap up her storyline on Unreal. And they gave her that moment. Sure. Like, it was convenient. I thought the match was like decent. I overall found it pretty entertaining. And, you know, it was always a bit odd to me that they had 5 people for this ladder match. That doesn't really feel like a pretty typical like number. But of course, it makes sense once you see it unfold with the 2 others, like 2 feuds or 4 other people basically pairing off with each other, leaving the path for Tiffany Stratton to basically like banana, you know, peel her way to victory, which I mean, calling back to Money in the Bank was sort of like, it's the most justifiable reason that you could put Tiffany or Chelsea Green into this position, not necessarily through her own merit, but because the others have kind of taken each other out, allowing her, this character, to win. And it was all effective, I felt.
I think that spot will probably lead to like Tiffany should turn. She really should be back as a heel. It's very much needed, and that spot could justify it here. But I'm expecting a very, very short title reign with Chelsea. But you hit the nail on the head. This is definitely feels like an Unreal type of story beat for them to utilize, because like Chelsea's been a constant in all of these seasons. This is a really easy one to do. She finally gets her big win, and you've got the post show where out on the desk she held up her title and said she wants to dedicate this title win to Michael Hayes.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Excellent. There you go.
So it ties it all together on Unreal.
You know, but yeah, like, I mean, this was not always the plan, of course, like with Rhea Ripley, but considering, you know, this being a backup, like maybe not a bad backup to have, you know, that they eventually came up with to create this moment, because they do love their moments, John.
I've heard over time. They showed a bunch of the international broadcast teams calling Kevin Owens' return. Sometimes I do wish we had these. I guess we do on Netflix, don't we? Can we switch?
I think so. Yeah, I believe so. I'm
going to try that for some of these shows.
You're going to try to watch in Hindi next time?
I might, yeah. I mean, the French... Cool. Was Pat LaPrade on the call for this, for Netflix?
Does he do the Netflix?
I don't know if he does the paper. I think he does Raw, I think.
Oh.
But I don't know if he does the pay-per-views or not. He might.
Test it out next time.
Then we had a trailer. It was the Curse Father for Danhausen for the Human Monies on a pole match with Dirty Dom and Danhausen. Dom tries a 619 early, and Danhausen avoids. And so Dominic, Jesus, this feels morbid, but he goes for the Three Amigos, Michael Cole, paying homage to the late Eddie Guerrero right here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's like, this one was less of a, like, you have to, we're really forcing this one in, but it was still a similar vibe to the night before. We're here in...
I guess, like, I didn't even think, like, it's not, I don't immediately think about Eddie Guerrero when I think about Minnesota. So I
felt it more. It was more on the nose last night, where it was making a specific point that, of course, Eddie here in Minnesota. But anyway, that was our Eddie spot tonight. Okay. JD runs in and attacks Danhausen. So I'm pretty sure they were Little Hausens on Friday. They're Mini Hausens here. I think this depends on Joe Tessitore and Michael Cole. They have different terms for them. Maybe
one just forgot.
Yeah,
mess it up.
What if Pat McAfee was here? Oh, it's the midget Hausens.
Good, maybe. Mm-hmm.
So the Minis attack JD, who just slams them, choke slams them, but then Mascarita Sagrada, Torito Hausen, as he is called, was the best worker in this match, okay? By a mile, okay? He comes in. I actually want to see JD McDonough have a match with Torito, okay?
Yeah,
I think those
great.
two, they would certainly have a much better match than these two had. Judgment Day starts stomping the Minis, but Torito comes off the rope with a head scissors and then this awesome dive onto Dominic. Danhausen army crawls to the corner and gets stopped from climbing for the money when JD is climbing. And then Joe Hendry arrives. He's got a guitar, just to remind us of Monday's segment, smashes it over JD, and then Dom grabs the money, but it's cursed, or Danhausen places the curse on him, setting off pyro. Dom takes the bump, and Danhausen grabs the bag at 6 minutes and 50 seconds. And then, like he was Andre the Giant, just took the money and started throwing it out to the fans, including Nick Khan's kid, who just snatched the money as it got placed right in front of him. So Danhausen trying to bribe Khan's kid here. I thought this match sucked. I know that way you came into this, hopefully it would be like entertaining and such. I did not feel there was much cleverness to this one. It was short. That's the best I can say about this. And I just didn't think they had much creative ideas for these two. And I would have expected like something more, but it did not hit for me.
I agree. I felt like the MSG match was very successful. I quite enjoyed it, and I was gonna look at this one very much in the same way, in just sensing what type of atmosphere they'd be able to create through all the shenanigans and how creative they were going to be with all the shenanigans. And the answer, unfortunately, for SummerSlam was that nothing, no spots that we hadn't seen before were used in this. We've seen the mini houses before. We've seen Joe Hendry, certainly. We've seen the curse deal in the corner with the pyro exploding, and all of it just kind of felt like retread here, without at least another extra addition, another extra layer above it all to really kind of have it feel special. The cat thing, at MSG felt way bigger than this. This was just by the end kind of routine. And we
needed some of the Timberwolves to come out here.
Or at least maybe a further teasing of this clone thing that Danhausen has been building to. Where the fuck are Kit Wilson and the Miz, and not to say they have to be a part of it, but they've been at least somewhat
they've kind of disappeared for a little bit now. And even the mystery person under the sheet, I feel like that hasn't even been referenced on SmackDown for a few weeks either.
Yeah.
It just feels like all of that was paused.
So I mean, again, to me, this was the big one on the biggest stage that I think you needed to have a bigger element of surprise for, and they really give you none of that. So I certainly found this disappointing.
Then we got the AWA segment of the night where we had the Killer Bees with masks on. I laughed at B. Brian Blair and Jim Brunzell unmasking. Rick Martel, who, man, they never have him out at WWE events. I mean, he's pretty reclusive these days. Greg Gagne and Minnesota's own Molly Holly as well were all showing there. No Jimmy Hart tonight. Broke his streak of consecutive live events.
Show him twice in a row.
Did you notice Michael Chandler was there both nights in the front row behind the broadcasters? They never showed him on screen unless I missed it either night.
They showed him yesterday. I'm pretty sure.
Did they isolate him?
Yeah.
Okay, then I missed it. But anyway, he took in both nights of SummerSlam. Penta and Chad Gable for the Intercontinental title. Now it was I want to say it was 7:30 p.m. roughly. I was like, okay, these guys, maybe it was a little later than that. I was like, okay, they've got lots of time here. So, I know the main event's going to go long, but these guys, there's no excuse for these guys not to get the proper match that they should have. And Gable is introduced from Minneapolis. His family is in attendance. It seems like it was take your family to PLE Day for WWE. Everyone's family was here tonight.
If you're winning.
I guess if you're winning, you're right. Yeah,
that curse is broken now.
Yeah, they threw that one on its head tonight. Mm-hmm. So, they shake hands at the beginning. You've got Chad in the middle doing the clap. The clap isn't going away, folks.
They are trying with this stupid clap. And tonight, I a good chunk of the audience were doing it, but it's still corny as hell. And I don't what is the reason why they are so adamant about wanting this clap deal? They would be for tonight.
The new Yeet, or they want something that something with your arms, and that's the best they got. Is that?
I don't. Anyway.
So immediately Gable goes for the ankle, lands a rolling Kapu kick early, and then moves to some rolling Germans. And Chad's shoulder gets rammed into the turnbuckle, and Cole brings up the injury that took him out last year, and this becomes the focus with the shoulder injury. And I really like this on several fronts. Number one, it's the existing injury for Chad Gable. Number two, this is so fresh in everyone's mind that they just saw a shoulder injury last night that I thought it carried a little more weight that they had just seen this, and Chad did a very good job selling this. He goes for a moonsault off the top into a super kick from Penta, and now it's Penta's time to come back. Tope con Hero to the floor. Gable gets cut here on his cheek, and it seemed on his forehead. There was some blood. Splash off the top. Penta catches him and snaps the bad arm with the sacrifice. And Chad manages to block the Mexican Destroyer, goes back to the ankle lock, and then catches Penta for a German suplex on the edge of the apron, followed by an Orihara moonsault and flying headbutt into the ring. And at the end here, we see Penta go for this Mexican Destroyer off the turnbuckle. This was a very rough looking Mexican Destroyer that they replayed many times, and it even had the usual, well, Michael, I don't think he got all of that one, but they showed this so many times. And
he really didn't get the full rotation, and therefore landed more on his butt to essentially protect Gable than usual. Yeah.
But Gable survives the Destroyer, gets back to the ankle lock, and just pulls Penta away from the rope, goes down to the mat, and he gets the tap. All this 11 minutes and 10 seconds, which I'm not saying is a travesty, but I felt like 2 minutes into this, it was like, wow, they're going very fast here. And I just felt like these two I think this could have been even better. And I liked the match, but I felt it was extremely rushed.
Let me just pause and to just appreciate the fact that the contrast of conversations we have for WWE pay-per-views and AEW pay-per-views is just so
Dude, they're
fascinating.
opposite universes, okay? They don't operate in the same universe.
In AEW, every
this would have been 35
match,
minutes.
Every match had at least 16 minutes, and we're talking about every match, even the matches that nobody really cared that much about. This is a match that I would suggest some people in attendance cared about. Seeing that this was the hometown guy finally achieving a singles championship title in front of a stadium crowd in his hometown. And at most, they were able to give it 11 minutes. And
if they had 16, 17, I think this would have been just at another level. I just wish it had 5, 6 more minutes. I mean, ideally, they would have had 20, but they're not getting 20 on a WWE show, which is, I think that's a perfectly valid criticism to have. You're watching a 3-hour wrestling show, and it's this one gets 11, and you're just watching this match. It's I know these guys have an unbelievable match in them, and they were handcuffed, and they just had to do so much into so little. And, it was a very good match, but it could have been at a higher level.
When we're strictly talking about bell time on this show, it's something 2 hours. So you're given a 3-hour viewing appointment, but
dude, this undercard before the main 8.5, 9, 13, 650, 11 for this.
Right. Yeah. And I'm not suggesting long matches for everything. Certainly not. But for a match like this, semi main event, you could even say I felt like it certainly deserved it, especially considering how they were kind of just getting to that next gear when the match just kind of ended. Right. And to me, that was a little bit disappointing because I thought Gable's win could have felt a bit more earned, the struggle could have been there a little bit more, so that the closing moment really felt like it was something that was, again, really, really, really well earned. They fell short of that, but overall, I'd still say Gable, I think Punk and Cody last night, I thought did a great job selling the injury and putting attention to that injured body part with every bit of offense he had throughout the match. Penta very great at delivering his flashy signature offense, maybe Mexican Destroyer on the apron aside, but the chemistry was really strong. I would have loved to have seen this maybe go a little bit longer, but for what they gave us, it was a strong 11-minute match.
I hope they get a rematch, and I hope it's in AAA. That would be my preference of all avenues for these two. But then let's talk about the post-match. Penta gets the belt, he grabs it, and he wraps it around Gable's waist. And Michael Cole says, "For those of you that know what this man has gone through, the different characters and changes in his life, the trials and tribulations and downward spirals, but it finally pays off. It's like this guy's rock bottom was playing an awful character based on his height, but the man has somehow basically this post-match was this guy overcame Vince McMahon creative of the last 10 years. That was his big obstacle that he overcame, and he dinged up his shoulder. But it all paid off. Gable is joined by his family. His kids are in there, including his son, who is in a wrestling singlet.
Which I think was the same, at least in one of his matches, if not like the Americano match. I feel like this is a somewhat familiar.
Yeah, that's
visual.
right. That's right. And his parents are there too.
The crying face daughter, of course, who now appears to be all grown up.
Yes. She's been crying for years. She can finally wipe away the tears. Daddy has won the big one. His mom and dad are there with Chad Gable shirts. And Gable gets on the mic. My name is Chas Betts. No, he says, my name is Chad Gable. I was born, raised, and live in Minneapolis. And now I can say I'm the Intercontinental Champion. And folks, I swear to God, I am not making up any of this if you did not see the show. The family is here.
Oh God,
there's tears. The children are emotional. Chad is crying. He's won the belt. And the fucking mug root beer guy has to get up for this product placement to hand Chad a can of root beer for him to chug like he's Steve Austin as a big graphic appears. Mug root beer. Got that dog in you? I swear to God, dude, I have said from day one that I just accept these ads as they are what they are. They're not going to affect this. This was just gross.
This was not an ad on a canvas or a turtle.
This was way too fucking much. And what this was not was
premium content, and it must be premium.
This was not premium on a premium live event. Could you imagine? Stone Cold. And he's got to do the mug root beer shout out with Tyson afterwards. I want this mug root beer guy to be photoshopped into all the classic WWE title wins. Imagine these moments with the mug fucking root beer guy that this Chad Gable. Imagine Chad Gable being run down. This whole thing is being laid out. Family's in the ring. Your kids are there. Yeah. And then Chad, we gotta work this in as well. It's a partner thing. It's like, holy Christ!
Talk about a way to like ruin, like an authentically heartwarming moment, for a man.
There's no heart in this product, dude. There's no heart in this.
This was the type of thing you'd watch, and you really do have to ask yourself like how unaware this company could be. Like this is the type of thing that I think you would like create to parody this version of TKO, to just like, it was so unbelievable that I think a lot of us might have been expecting this guy to unmask to reveal like Gable's next opponent. That to me would have at least saved it and would have given it some sort of like Otis, maybe. I don't know, but it would have given it
could this not have been done in the Danhausen match? Like, could we have not come up with something with the mug root beer guy? Like, let's put all the shit into one trash can and let it explode.
No, like it was honestly like truly awful, and I just don't know like if you're any sort of advertiser, how would you actually appreciate this level of like publicity?
Bet they loved it. I bet they had a hard on watching this, but watching Chad Gable have to lift the can and chug it like he was Steve Austin was just embarrassing. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe what I was watching here. It was just what are we watching? What are we watching?
So bad.
I want the Unreal episode that shows them pitching this to Chad and laying this out.
Yeah.
Mr. Gable, I'm so sorry. This is not my call at all.
If it was Austin, you would have at least had him like stun the dude, and that might have at least like saved it. And I think like, the brand would have still benefited fine from whatever integration you wanted to offer it. But like just to kind of have this moment without any sort of like comeuppance for the goofy dude in the bear outfit or dog outfit or whatever it is, it just kind of makes Gable look bad.
Oh, he looked like such a geek at the end here after you made him like this big hometown star. Yeah. Got that dog in you. So Justin Jefferson of the Vikings, once again, he's back just to tee up the main event, and we get the entire saga of the Shield in video package form. I went and watched the Spider-Man movie before the entrances were done. No, I'm kidding. I could have had that amount of time, but it was like
fucking terrific,
dude. It was like
you'll love it.
8:20. Did you see the movie?
Oh yeah, I saw it Friday.
Everyone is
So
raving
good.
about it. I really want to go see it.
think
My
it might be
kids,
my favorite.
kids don't want to see it.
Oh really? Great.
Like, they were my token to go see this. My son's not interested. My daughter would see it. She's not going to last in that long of a movie.
They will ruin the movie for you, John. Take this gift and go watch it by yourself.
Well,
right?
I think I'm going to have at least some afternoon this week, and that's my goal is to go see
I
it.
think it's the best like Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Oh, it's like I've seen nothing but like incredible praise for this. So
WH and Rich will be reviewing it this week on MCU later.
wow, easy there, TKO.
Oh, sorry. Should I give him 2 root beers to chug maybe
At
for
the
the podcast?
core, they're about emotional transportation.
All right. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. So Rollins' entrance starts with the Shield music, and there's this stand-in in the Shield gear before a flame rises. I'll assume the stand-in was just burnt to a crisp.
I thought it was just like a LED thing. Maybe I could.
It could have been. They didn't zoom in on it, so it was maybe hard. I just thought maybe it was a stand-in, but anyway, it was an image of Seth in the old gear before he replaces the stand-in with his regular gear as the modern theme comes on. And Seth brought out a whole new outfit that has a story attached to it that Michael Cole gave us the background of. He explains that Rollins, who is in these white colors, the white indicates that he believes his redemption arc is complete. What redemption arc, you ask? Well, he returned from injury on a path of revenge, signaled by all black attire. But tonight, according to Cole, is his rebirth, as he also wears an old-style Shield mask combined with his Buzz Lightyear pants.
Yeah. No, I appreciate like all that backstory and thought put into it. I guess like why not just wear white then? Wouldn't that have been a cooler look than all this like he looked like a flower?
Well, I've certainly watched this story blossom for many years. And then
whatever, cool.
Reigns comes out just to his Roman Reigns entrance, and they're in the ring. Rollins
he's not putting any extra effort into like what new wardrobe.
Fuck my arc. Yeah. Rollins has the white flak jacket and presents it to Roman and says, "For old time's sake." Reigns is like, "Stop your bullshit." And Seth says, "I own you. I own you." Match.
This was certainly a quintessential like OTC Roman Reigns pandemic era type of like live theater match, that certainly had plenty of spots for it, and maybe your enjoyment of it might very much be dependent on how much you enjoy or even tolerate that.
I think this is going to be one of the most divisive matches of the year. I think there will be those that are going to call this is better than Wingstop on a Friday night, this match. And there will be others that I think this will be the Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa cinematic match on NXT to others.
Sure. But no matter maybe how you feel about it, the crowd loved this, okay? And that's not something you can argue. This completely connected. And this is not a crowd that could hear what they were saying, but they felt they were certainly here for this match, and they treated this like it was the main event of the weekend.
In many ways, like this is for like this WWE audience. This was absolutely what they wanted, and it was very much like a patterned like WWE big style match, like blow off type of match where you were going to get all the false finishes and the crowd at the edge of their seat, like it wasn't Cena and AJ Styles, but there were elements of it that kind of had the same appeal to people. Like they saw something that they viewed as really important with big stars that they have been conditioned to see as big stars. And this one was, they got a lot of time. This was even longer than the Cody Punk match the night before. So early in the match, we see Rollins hitting multiple suicide dives before he is caught and hit with the drive-by. And Michael Cole notes as they brawl into the crowd that referee Sean Bennett using a lot of leeway tonight. And leeway was brought up multiple times for the count out folks out there that would be questioning this. Rollins does Reigns pose for a spear on the floor, and I'll be nice and say he jogged toward this spear before he was caught in a guillotine. This was like me on day one as a white belt, just walking into Way's guillotine, and Reigns, this was a comical setup, and he just powerbombs Seth through a desk on the floor. Then he goes for another powerbomb, but this time Rollins reverses. He powerbombs Reigns through the English announcer's desk. They beat the count, and Rollins hits a pedigree. He follows that with a stomp. Then Reigns misses a spear, goes into the buckle, takes the stomp, and we get the first really big near fall as Reigns kicks out. Rollins then tries for his superplex, but when he transitions to the Falcon Arrow, he's caught again in the guillotine, and Rollins breaks free of the guillotine, and Reigns spears him. And now it's time for some dialogue. This bitch is a 2. I'm the 1. He continues to call him. Michael Cole says how Reigns continues to call himself A1. I was like, man, maybe Linda McMahon has been in his ear.
No.
Yeah. A1. Rollins then spears Reigns as he comes off the ropes, and now Michael Cole has elevated this one to an instant classic at the halfway mark. Now it's time for Seth to recite. The only reason you're number 1 is because they made you number 1. Tonight, I take that from you. Which is crazy because Way and I once had this pretty intense scuffle, and those are verbatim the words that Way gave to me. He said, I'm the worker of the group. Pollock, everything is handed to you. I'm going to take that from you. Mm-hmm. So they trade buckle bombs. Reigns hits the stomp, but Rollins kicks out of this. And then they're on their knees trading words. And Rollins asks, what, is the bloodline going to come down? But Reigns says he's going to do this on their own. And they trade blows. And then Rollins gets knocked into the referee. So the ref goes down. And as Rollins bounces off the rope, folks, from the worst named maneuvers file comes the lunatic lariat.
Oh, except Cole called it an even worse name than that.
Oh, what did he call it? He called it the
like
wacky...
the wacky line. Which
the wacky line. Dude,
I don't know who the fuck called it that. Like
it
back
was
then.
Never called the wacky line. Ever. But
the lunatic lariat is, as much as Ambrose or Mox might actually hate it, it's way better than the wacky line.
I wish now it was called the wacky line. And Cole, just Michael Cole in his subtlety. Hello, Dean Ambrose.
He ruined the moment. Trust me. Like, I mean, listen. Like, if he didn't say it, maybe I don't know. Maybe we would have speculated. Oh, he can't say it. No. But I think a moment like this speaks for itself, and didn't need somebody just hitting you over the head with a reference.
Hello, Dean Ambrose. Rollins then goes for the dirty deeds, but Reigns counters and he hits the move onto Rollins.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
I didn't have Michael Cole to spoon feed me this
one.
What
is
well.
this about?
I was like, oh, wait a minute. Hello, Cactus Jack. So then Reigns misses Rollins and he spears the referee, who is dead. And Barrett and Cole even say, it's like, oh, you don't come back from a spear if you're an official. And he didn't. That was the last we saw of Sean Bennett. So they're down. Rollins, this is the next chapter. Now it's time for the chair. Rollins gets the chair, which Cole instructs us, the weapon that started this all 12 years ago. And wouldn't you know it, Reigns is slowly climbing up on the rope with his back toward Rollins. And then Reigns turns around and strikes Rollins. He was ready. He scouted this. He had eyes in the back of his head. And then Reigns gets the chair and Rollins is climbing up on the ropes. And guys, somewhere out there, someone was thinking, fuck John Pollock. And Roman Reigns, with those eyes, he stares at the chair. And in my mind, the chair spoke to Roman. And the chair said, Roman, you are better than this. You can do this. It is time for A1. And Roman Reigns threw the chair away. He gave in and he put strategy in front of emotion. And instead of you just processing this, Michael Cole tells us Roman Reigns shedding the obsession. Rollins will not go down from a Superman punch. The spear attempt by Reigns is caught with another pedigree. And then this looked like a genuine, like, just mess up because Rollins goes for the stomp. And you think that Reigns is getting out of the way, but Rollins comes down in this weird way. And then he just resets and hits the stomp like he was supposed to the first time.
Yeah.
And it just seemed
to me
this
that
was
just
one
seems,
that
it usually seems like it's a sign of something messed up when they just like redo the thing without any sort of like real dramatic flair to it.
Yeah, it just seemed like they were off on this one. And then Rollins comes off the top with a super stomp, but it misses. Reigns hits one spear, a second spear, a third spear, and as he goes for the cover, Michael Cole yells, "The death blow to the Shield, the death blow to Seth Rollins," and Reigns retains in 33 minutes and 25 seconds. And before you can even assess, Michael Cole calls this one of the greatest main events he has ever witnessed. Pause at SummerSlam. So a bit of a qualifier there. And
I'd love to have Cole's ranking of
I would love to know what are your
events.
top 10 SummerSlam main events, Michael Cole. Before we go to the lengthy post match, your thoughts way on this match, and please put my tone aside of some of my all these lines.
How could you recap this and not sound silly doing it at times, right? I'll tell you. Okay, so again, there is no sort of like denying this was what this crowd wanted.
I will not argue that one bit.
Yep. The type of stadium level feel of big main event that this crowd wanted, and they delivered that masterfully. They delivered it tremendously, and I think everybody watching this in attendance and watching at home, if you again like if this is the style of wrestling that you want and appreciate, I think you would have been tremendously satisfied. So like full marks, for them. For me, maybe as somebody who's just like seeing a lot of it and has seen those Shield moments like with the chair replicated ad nauseum to the point where it's so overdone, especially in like the lead up to this and all the talking too. I kind of had my fill, and I'm somebody who like doesn't like I'm a bigger
you're
fan
way more
of
open to this type of like the Roman style of storytelling.
But with this particular pairing and on this particular evening, it just kind of like, I kind of found it groan inducing. But there was, again, no denying just how much this crowd were on with them for every single near fall, every single tease. Everything that they did, I think, was right because it completely connected with this crowd. And you can argue, like, it's Roman versus Rollins. And if you're to
Roman versus Reigns is probably the next program.
If you were to deliver a final chapter of their story, I think it would look exactly like this with plenty of callback to Shield, lore, meaning just those two spots really. But yeah,
I think this is probably one that, like, of all the things that I'm looking at that were like cringy, it was all on commentary or it was like their dialogue, none of which that you would have been witness to in this crowd, that I think it would have probably played a lot different in person versus on the broadcast. Like to Way's point, like this crowd loved this, and you can't knock, like, what works. And for a WWE type of main event, like this is kind of what I think they're going to paint this as like this classic piece of grand storytelling that they have. But to me, it felt like if you're telling me of just, I'm not going outside of WWE, but if you're comparing like this to Cody Punk last night, like certainly Cody Punk, I got a lot more enjoyment out of that than this.
Yeah, I agree.
The two were just for a while. They're seated in opposite sides of the ring. And finally, Reigns gets up and he puts out the fist. And as Seth gets up, he meets him in the ring for a fisting. As Michael Cole says, and it is forever done. The final chapter. The book has closed. And Rollins leaves, and Reigns is left, holding the Shield mask as he watches Seth leave. And then Reigns exits the ring, and this might have been on the post-show part after the show proper had ended, but he's interviewed by Jackie right on the floor.
It was
sorry,
in the post show.
It was on the post show?
Yeah, I watched this like pretty much like way after, and it wasn't there in the feed.
He says that tonight it came full circle with Seth, and it's significant being in Minnesota because this is where my football career ended. And Jackie asked, what did you say to him right before the final spear? And he said, it's always been us two. From FCW all the way up to now, it's always been us two. Even in the Shield, we knew Ambrose was the wild hair. We knew we were the guys that were going to change this place. And when everyone else got scared and ran off, we held the fort down.
Okay.
The wild hair. The master of the wacky line. Man, this guy Moxley took some strays here on this story.
Being the wild hair is like I'm seeing some people in the comments saying like, you know, they're sensing like what Moxley being disrespected. Like to me, I didn't listen to him deliver the line, but like just in like hearing your recap of it, it just maybe reads more to me like he's the guy who never wanted to stay and was always considering leaving anyway, right?
Well,
like
I think people take it as like if you were just to hear like the line about, oh, Ambrose was the crazy one in the group, it's because right after that he talked about, you know, others got scared and ran off.
Okay,
that
yes,
you can
right.
plausibly separate the two. It's like he didn't specifically say that about Ambrose, but then he like made that line afterwards. I mean, it is whatever. It's I don't view this stuff as you know, it is what you're going to state in this moment. But that is how the show ended. And I think an interesting question, whether it's going to be answered tomorrow on Raw or maybe it's going to be a while, is just what the Raw main event scene looks like. Because there feels like Roman and Oba feels like the big match, but it just does not feel like the time for it. But Raw feels like maybe it's so top heavy on SmackDown and it is so not on Raw. Like the idea of Roman Reigns and LA Knight is as viable as anything on Raw. Yeah. Like that's the state of things.
Well, let's answer the question. How many Roman Reigns matches are we going to get? Or how many like Roman main events should we expect between now and
he might not wrestle till Money in the Bank.
Survivors. Yeah. Survivor Series even.
Well, he's advertised for Money in the Bank, so I imagine he'll be on that show. But that's October. You're right. Like they could, you know, you could do an LA Knight. Could you fast track a Big Cass? Do you move someone over from SmackDown? Is it some bloodline multi-person? It's going to be a real, because it's not only who is Roman paired with, who is Oba paired with, if not each other. Like you have to keep both of these guys busy in theory for several months before you're ready to lock in that program. So I think that's going to be interesting, and it kind of leaves Seth in no man's land on Raw. Like the Roman thing is done.
Yeah, and the Vision thing is done.
The Vision is done. Like there is Seth is. I don't know. It could stand to like mix some stuff up potentially of like, you know, one or two people come over from SmackDown. Seth moves over to SmackDown. I think all those are options if you wanted to shake things up, because
Penta's kind of free now that he's no longer in the IC division. But I mean, it feels like a big jump for him for any of those guys.
Yeah. How did you feel about night 2 and in comparison to night 1?
So I didn't like it as much as night 1, and you know I thought night 1 was maybe to me more of like a 7 out of 10 show anyway. So this one probably under that. But I you know I respect the main event. Like I didn't really it's not like my personal like maybe to my personal liking, but I mean there's no denying that it was the right match for this type of crowd. But the rest of the show, I thought either suffered from like maybe, you know, a good matches that didn't have enough time to kind of build to what they needed to in Gable versus Penta and also the opening 4-way, to matches that just maybe didn't offer that much, I think, substance, like Dominic and Danhausen. The latter match was like satisfying enough, you know, gave you a nice moment. Trick versus Baron is mind-boggling to me.
That was probably the booking low of the show. I thought the pole match was the worst match on the show. I like Penta and Gable, but man, I just felt like there was so much more that it could have reached to, but I didn't. I liked it. It was just, I think they definitely had a higher ceiling to reach. I don't disagree with you about the main event stuff as well. Like, I know that's going to be a very polarizing match for people to discuss. But there you go. That was 2 nights of SummerSlam, and then they go into Raw tomorrow night in Des Moines, Iowa. That it's Big Cass's return. That's, I think, all that is announced thus far.
In Seth Rollins' country, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. Well, maybe he'll come out to start his new arc tomorrow.
Maybe.
What color will he be wearing? Brand new color palette.
He's got every color under the sun that is available.
All right, we're going to go to some feedback, and let us start over at forum.postwrestling.com with Jeremy in Texas. What a way to open the show with the return of Kevin Owens. I did not expect to see him wrestle a match this weekend. A program with Punk has the potential to feed families. Great moments for great moments for Chelsea Green and Chad Gable. Not to be forgotten, the root beer mascot joining Gable's family in the celebration. Where was that in 1991? Could have joined in with Stu and Helen Hart. The main event, I appreciated the Shield nuggets that were featured in the match. Of course, it needed its stamp with a good old-fashioned fisting. With slow early ticket sales for both of the 2 nights this year, do you think TKO will put the brakes on moving forward with a 2-night Royal Rumble event? I'll throw that question to you, Wade. Do you think that first of all, do you think that
the answer to that is whether or not this 2-night SummerSlam was more profitable than a 1-night SummerSlam? Expenses, after expenses, right? Not to mention just like they're delivering extra content for their partners that they are going to be benefiting from as well, right? So for all those reasons, I like, it can't be a spectacular failure. Like, they can't sell like 10,000 tickets to like, an arena stage or something. But like, if they hit 30, like, I'm sure they were plenty satisfied with the performance tonight.
Yeah, it's not as though it's solely ticket selling that is their metric that they care the most about. Like, if they're able to sell to various like governments or municipalities 2 nights, and they're going to be incentivized, and the cities will probably want 2 nights instead of 1, and that's going to be the decision maker for them.
It's going to get to a point though, like, okay, it could get to a point where they might not be able to sustain like a 2-night stadium show, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think they're near that right now. I think like just the idea of the Rumble itself will be enough to do
there
as
was
well
like
as SummerSlam.
There was like video from last night. It would have been similar tonight where they showed like the opposite side of the hard cam side. It's like, dude, it's like half an empty stadium that they had tonight. And
AEW and Wembley will be like, it's a similar conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like, the thing is though, they still managed to fit 30 something thousand people in here. And so what is your next best place if not for this stadium that you could do that?
You're never going to be crying over 35,000 tickets for a wrestling event, especially over 2 nights. It is, what is your expectation level? And when you're the city of Minnesota or whatever, like, what is your expectation? Like, we don't know what their financial package was, but that's contingent. Like, they are banking on, you are going to bring this many tourists in, we're going to sell this many hotel rooms, like, this is what you're going to do for our weekend here in the city. And that's like the expectation level that is either met or not met. You're up.
My turn. We go to O'Donnell, who says, I enjoyed the show a lot, but while not every match needs to go forever, after Redemption, I've just come to accept every AEW pay-per-view has matches go 3 to 4 minutes too long, while every WWE pay-per-view has matches that go 3 to 4 minutes too short. Sign me the fuck up for Kevin Owens versus CM Punk in their WWE title feud. Don't you dare try to jump back on the SmackDown reviews, John. Neil Flanagan Mania is running wild on Friday nights, and we finally have a really interesting main event program with Punk, Owens, Sami, Balor, and Gunther. Neil wished this into existence for us Flanagan maniacs.
They're running wild.
Chelsea and Gable winning was great. The Gable match was good shit, and coming off both nights, it's clear Oba is the guy, and Roman is onto something new. And Punk and Owens is the direction. I'm satisfied. Do you sense that too? Like, Okay, well, like, did you read anything to like the fact that Oba like made comments about Punk last night on the post
I
show?
didn't. I think Punk has a bunch of programs lined up. I feel that was just, you throw that stuff out there for, it's going to get, you just throw stuff out. I think Oba is going to be
Roman.
like, think about Raw at this point without Obafemi. Like that, like he pretty much is the guy on Raw that will be the week to week fixture on that program, unless they kind of balance out these rosters. And yeah, it would. But like, I'm at a loss for how they're going to keep him busy for this amount of time, unless they just think like we can't.
The thing is though, like, okay, so if Oba is should win a championship soon, do you want to end the Reigns run, or do you pivot Oba to the direction of a CM Punk or whoever might be on the SmackDown side of things to allow for Roman to hold that championship as long as till WrestleMania or something?
I think Reigns and Oba is the program. I think that's the big match. I think people see that as a really big match, and it's the idea, like, is Oba going to cut this championship reign short from Reigns' last title run?
It is a big match, which is maybe all the more reason I could see them trying to delay it until WrestleMania.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I think
so. So are we saying you don't crown Oba at all? Like, in fact, should he even fail at attempting to win the championship until WrestleMania?
I don't see him going for a title before WrestleMania.
Because that would be fucking bullshit. Okay, how does a guy like win King of the Ring, beat Brock Lesnar in a feud, and then somehow have his campaign for the championship delayed until April?
Okay,
that's ridiculous.
Oba comes out for his celebration tomorrow night on Raw, and he's about to make his declaration for the championship when all of a sudden, wait a minute, that guy's from SmackDown. It's Baron Corbin.
The championship will be there. Okay, I gotta take care of this Baron Corbin problem first.
And then Oba wins the Royal Rumble, but he gives up the championship match.
He should win Money in the Bank and give up the Money in the Bank because he's got bigger problems. He's got to
win every obstacle, and then combined, they get him a championship at Mania 2028.
That's right. Yeah.
Slow burn. Cam, for years, I've seen refs get knocked out with other refs quickly running down to back up the ref. Amazingly, in the main event, the ref gets knocked out and had zero refs to back him up. He stayed out of the picture until it was time for Roman to finally pin Seth. Amazingly, he then sprung into the ring for a 3 count, as if Roman screaming, "Ooh, ah," was the ref's superpower. Nonetheless, I enjoyed the second night more than the first, and I'm amazed as on paper, the second night looked very weak, but yet ended up being formidable and easy to watch. Referees have recuperative powers.
It was easy to watch. I'll give it that. These are easy shows to watch.
Yes.
If you don't watch it live, of course. Andy B says, where do you guys stand on the broader state of WWE creative?
Well, that's a very broad question.
Yeah, it is a very broad question. I think this year, I think it's certainly not at maybe its peak, but I'm also, I don't know. I'm also wondering if we're looking back at the peak as of the bloodline, run up to WrestleMania 40 as better than it actually was.
Well, let's narrow it down. What did you think was built up well for SummerSlam of the key programs? We don't have to go
Oba and Brock. I think the way they got there through King of the Ring was awful. That was to be totally nonsensical.
And the retirement. I really hated that retirement thing. I just think it was served no purpose. There was no big payoff. There was no big angle. It was just, he came back.
Yeah. But the match felt big by the time you got to it, just given just the stature of the two guys. And the sort of expectation of some sort of finality to this one. I think by the end, the two main events felt really hot, in Cody and Punk and Roman and Seth. As well, I think Aldis and Gunther were strong builds.
I like the Cody Punk build up, but I really thought that the Reigns and Rollins stuff was, I think they got way too much in their own heads about building this up. It was part of it was that initial promo segment was, and the story throughout, even in this the lead up to this, it was Seth saying, you're the number one guy because it's all handed to you. I've had to work for everything. I couldn't screw up. You'd get chance after chance. But at the same time, every time I've beaten you when it counts, I've beaten you. So I've got to beat you this time. It was like, in your own description here, it's like, what does one more win do for you here? Like, you have established that he is the company's choice, that you've now introduced that as part of the story, that this is like hand-picking the champion. And so what does one more match mean? And to me, they just got, and it was the bounce back of like, he's a babyface here. He's a heel on Saturday night's main event. He's back and forth. And I just thought it was a really disjointed build-up. So I did not really enjoy the Reigns-Rollins build-up, but I thought Cody and Punk, like, I thought for the limited time they had, it was a very simple story. It was like two friends, they're battling over the belt. It didn't get into like weird territory that I felt Rollins especially went into routinely. And Nick Aldis did do an interview. He got told that weekend of Night of Champions. So that was the end of June, the last weekend of June. And he had a month to prepare for this. And he also said, like, he was blown up very early in the match with Gunther, just stating like, he was on a pretty intense program, but he was like, there was nothing that replaces ring time. So he had 4 weeks to get ready for this. And that's obviously when they made the decision.
I mean, impressive, certainly. But like, I think it kind of played to this, like, well for the story and like kind of fit the character. Like, he should not be some sort of incredible cardio machine. This is like a suit, being put in the ring with Gunther. So like, I don't think it really harmed the match at all. Your turn.
Okay, we'll finish with Luke. A real crowd-pleasing night of wrestling. Owens returning was expected, but a great moment. Punk and Owens is a rare, true dream match where they have never wrestled. I hope Owens is still able to go the same as he was before the injury. Trick and Baron was what it was. This feels like when Carlito took the U.S. title off John Cena in 2004. An obstacle for the rising babyface to overcome. I think was that the program where John Cena got stabbed in a nightclub after?
I don't remember.
By Jesus. Remember Jesus?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But did this have to be Corbin? Would have been a great spot for Aleister Black. Well, Aleister Black doesn't work there anymore. He would have given Trick better matches, and imagine the promo battles. Well, that's certainly true. Trick Williams and Aleister Black, I might have had to retire after. Gable and Penta was great. Cole saying Gable had to overcome character changes was a choice. Watch them give him a root beer gimmick.
Oh my god, I think this is just as bad as Shorty G, the root beer shit.
Oh my god, I would love if he's like he's the mug root beer rep for, and he's got to drink these after each match. The main event was the match of the night for me. A lot of great details, and the subversive moment of Roman not using the chair was great, but truly put this story to bed until they are on the same War Games team and they play up them not trusting each other. Yeah, I mean, that's inevitable. They will. Maybe Seth joins the bloodline now. Maybe that's they realize that after all this time, they are connected by blood.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, thanks, everyone. That's going to cap off our coverage of SummerSlam. But hey, some notes for everyone that is listening here. Wei Ting is going to be back on Monday evening for Rewind to Raw. He's going to be joined by Jack Wannon, as I'm going to be moderating a Q&A with Samoa Joe in town at the Royal Theatre in downtown Toronto on College Street tomorrow night. So if you do want to check that out, there are tickets available. They are about $16 for tickets. We're going to be screening the Necro Butcher Samoa Joe episode that recently aired of Dark Side, followed by an in-person Q&A with Samoa Joe discussing the episode. So hope to see maybe some of you down there if you are in the Toronto area. But then later on this week, Wei and I will be back because the Double Shot returns. We have some Dark Side of the Ring to catch up on. We missed last week's episode on the Big Boss Man, so we're going to do a double review on the Double Shot, covering the Big Boss Man episode and this Tuesday's airing of The Renegade, Rick Wilson, who was, of course, in WCW he ended up sticking around there for more than just the cup of coffee, but it is a very small window that people remember him coming in as sort of this bait and switch as the Ultimate Warrior, and a gimmick that certainly did not have legs. But we'll be talking about both of those episodes later on this week. And the G1 coverage,
episode that you will be on.
I will be on this episode. So we can look forward to that.
Yeah.
And a new G1 show will be dropping on Monday morning with Karen Peterson and Kate from Montreal as they cover this weekend's G1 action.
Yes, Karen and Kate, always a pleasure to listen, to any show when they get to be on together. And yeah, we've also got MCU later, as I mentioned, talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day. That is coming out later on this week as well. So tune into all of that, as well as really everything else we've ever done in the Post Wrestling Cafe by signing up for as little as $8 a month at postwrestlingcafe.com.
Yes, and for those that are signed up for the month of August, you're going to be getting live on-the-ground coverage of All in London from myself and Neil Flanagan. We're going to be doing daily audio updates from London and coverage of All in London at Wembley. We're also going to be going to the Rev Pro show and telling Way all about it in audio form.
I will be catching up like as soon as you guys drop those, and I'm looking forward to maybe your thoughts on the wrestling. I'm just more interested in your thoughts on the non-wrestling and what craziness you two will get up to.
I don't know. Neil is, I've told Neil, like, this is a professional trip. So that's going to be coming up this month as well. Some special Rewind Aways this month where we're going to be doing an always popular theme, the Patrons Pick. That will be coming out in August plus.
We need to reveal our picks, actually. Maybe we'll try to do that tomorrow night.
Okay. I'll send mine in. And I believe you're going to be doing a musical review this month. Correct?
Yeah, still waiting, from some parties to, pin down a particular recording time. But I'm looking forward to a podcast with Chris Ely and hopefully Nate Milton. Chris Ely has chosen for this particular review WWF Aggression. I know, one of your favorite albums of all time, John.
You know what? You guys chatting about Old Dirty Bastard, Method Man. I think this is the peak of any show put out on Rewind Away's extensive library. I am so looking forward to WWF Aggression.
It is such a fascinating project that somehow the WWE in its peak was able to have made, featuring Cool Keith. Like, have you ever thought about what Cool Keith would sound like doing the Mankind theme song? Okay. Or Snoop Dogg and Dub C on Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme song. Okay. This is what you would get on WWF Aggression, one of the greatest wrestling albums of all time.
Well, that's all to be consumed in the month of August. So consider signing up at postwrestlingcafe.com. All of those shows, plus the remainder of our G1 shows covering each and every tournament show as we are at the midway point of the tournament. So that's going to be it for us. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. That concludes SummerSlam Night 2.